Hello and welcome to class number 22 of the UPSC Mains Answer Writing Initiative. I really hope that if you're attending all these classes, you're feeling much more comfortable while facing these questions now. What do we do here? Every single day we have this class at 7 p.m. where we try and solve a previous year question from the UPSC exam. Right now we are about to complete GS 1, 2, 3 papers of 2023. I also give you a homework, which I'm glad to see many of you are taking very seriously. Once we complete the 2023 paper of GS 1, 2 and 3, we will then go and take up some of the other questions for practice purposes for your upcoming examination. Also, just in case you still have not joined the Telegram group, please do that. In the Telegram channel, all the PDFs of these lectures are made available every single day. In order to join that group, you can use the link in the description of the video. Also, if you are new here, I would like to remind you, in the very first class of this series, we discuss about how to structure the answer, how to write the introduction part, how to write the main body, and how to write the conclusion. Where to write the way forward, where not to write the way forward. We discussed all these things in the very first class. How to watch that? What you can do is, again, look at the description of this video. Therein, you will see a link of the entire playlist. The name will be the UPSC Mains Answer Writing Initiative. Go to class number 1 and there you will see our discussion about how to write the answer. Once you're done with that, then you can come back. What is it that we are going to discuss in today's class? Today we have taken up a question from GS 1 2023 paper. The question is short but slightly tricky. Why did human development fail to keep pace with economic development in India? Now, these kind of questions are tricky for some people. The reason is that the question is not telling you straightforward what is it asking you. For example, there are some questions that are very straightforward. One of the earlier questions that we discussed was, for example, what are the different direct and indirect subsidies that we have in farm sector in India? How is it that the president exercises his or her power? Now, those are very straightforward factual questions where you know what to write. In these kind of questions, just one line, one statement, you have to take a couple of seconds, take a minute or so to think about what exactly is the question asking and then write that. So, read the question carefully. It's a question from Indian society. It says, human development has failed to keep pace with economic development in India. The logic and the idea behind the question is, if you look at the different human development indices, India does not have a very good rank. Despite the fact that we have been growing economically, despite the fact that we have been able to magnify our GDP to become one of the largest GDPs in the entire world, we have been able to become the country that has the fastest growing major economy in the world. India is now the home to a lot of multinational companies. All these are good. However, on the other side, we still lack human development. Why is it that despite the economic development, India still lacks in human development? This is what the question is. What are the reasons behind it? This is what you have to write. So let's think about it. What are the reasons that despite having good economic indicators, human development indicators have not been up to the mark? First, obviously, education levels have not been that great. Skill development has not been given a priority. We do not see a lot of skill development. Still a huge part of our population, when they join the workforce, they are not able to contribute. High population, lack of research and development. The government of India has not been able to put a lot of money into research and development. Look at healthcare. Healthcare infrastructure is not up to the mark. In private sector, you do see that we do have some of the best infrastructure in the world in terms of hospitals, but that is unaffordable for a majority of India's population. So public healthcare sector, all of these and many more are the major reasons why our healthcare or why our human development rather has been lagging behind as compared to economic development. So this is what you have to write. How many points you remember on the day of the examination, depending upon that. In the main body, you can write 6, 7, 5 points, whichever points that you remember. Try and do that. Now, how do we begin this answer, or how do we write the introduction to this? The best way to write an intro to this kind of a question is to quote India's ranking in some of these indices. That will be the perfect way. If you have some data, for example, India ranks 132nd amongst 191 countries and territories on 2021 Human Development Index. Now, this is why these indices and India's rank is important for you to make a note of. Whenever these indices come out by international agencies, you are not required to remember India's rank for prelims exam. In the prelims, they will not ask you what was India's rank in this year. But this small fact makes a very good introduction in these kind of questions. So that is why if you have knowledge about India's growth predictions, the prediction by IMF or the World Bank or prediction by the government itself, the RBI prediction, whichever prediction numbers you have, you can go ahead with that. Like we are going ahead with IMF's predictions, which says India can be the world's third largest economy by 2030. On the other hand, contrastingly, our Human Development Index still lags behind most of the countries. So in the intro itself, we have introduced a problem that on one hand, we are economically getting stronger every year. On the other hand, Human Development Index is not up to the mark. And then we come to the main body of it. As I told you in the main body, depending upon how many pointers you remember at that point of time, you can write education, income disparity, social inequality, gender inequality, lack of skill development. In as many of these, try and give factual numbers, try and give real numbers. Don't just write India's education system is lagging, because that's a very generic statement that will not give you any marks. Just writing that India's education system is not up to the mark will not be good enough. You have to express in terms of facts, in terms of numbers. For example, here we have written over 1.2 million students are out of school. Most of them are at elementary level in 2022-22, something like that. The more numbers, facts that you quote, the better your answer will be. If you have, for example, data about research and development budget, about how much budget goes into, let's say, Department of Science, etc., that can be a very good answer. That can be a very good addition here. If you have facts about income disparity, any index that talks about income disparity in India, social inequality, any fact about gender versus rural development, all of that can be very, very good in these kind of answers. Then population numbers, you can quote how India has become the most populous country in the entire world, because of which our base is very, very high. Low public expenditure, lack of last mile connectivity, and then some other factors such as resource curse. Resource curse, for example, means there are some countries which are extremely wealthy in terms of mineral resource, especially in Africa, but they have not been able to convert that into economic wealth. Some countries have been able to do that, especially in the Middle East, but in Africa and in Asia, some countries have not been able to do that. In India also, look at states that are the mineral belt of India, Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, they are the mineral belt of India, but their social indicators are not that great. That's called the mineral curse. You can't have development just because you have minerals. You also need to have development, a proper policy in place in order to convert that into economic wealth. So these are the pointers that you can write in the main body. And then because the question is asking about a problem, and I told you earlier as well, when the question is only asking about the problem, they are not asking for the solutions. Here you can give some solutions from your own to have a well-rounded answer. So write the problem and then write a few solutions. Solutions can be just the opposite of the problem. Focus on more investment, good governance, income inequality has to be reduced. So basically in these kind of questions, whatever problems you have written, just write the opposite of it and it will become the solution automatically, depending upon whichever point you have to write. All that has to be done taking into consideration your word limit. If the answer has to be in 200 words, then the points will have to be reduced. If the answer is for 250 words, you can write more points. If it's in 150 words, you have to reduce it even further. So take the decision in that examination hall. Then we'll conclude it by saying that human development in India is of vital importance and thus the government must look into it very seriously. We have attained great economic growth and due to LPG reforms, etc. But more needs to be done and we need to focus on education, skill development, etc. That's how we will round up this particular answer. And now we have a homework for you again from GS1. The question is, From being a net importer in 1960s, India has emerged as a next net exporter of food in the world. Provide reasons. Simple, straightforward. How is it that we converted ourselves from being a net importer to net exporter of food? Write about Green Revolution, write about the new government policies, initiatives that have taken place, new research that has come up. All this has to be written here. If you want, you can mail this answer to me as well. I'll be happy to give you feedback in a few days. If you want the PDF of these lectures, please make sure that you join the Telegram channel. On this channel, I run multiple initiatives. We have a prelims quick revision series going on. We also have a series on PSIR. If you have PSIR as an optional, that will be very, very helpful for you. Do hit the subscribe button if you have not done so till now. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye. Jai Hind.